Hi there, welcome to kneppyinvests. So far in my mission to cover every single company that releases a positive operational cash flow June quarter, I'm finding quite a diverse group of companies. That is true for the video today, where I'll be featuring two companies. One is a mining company and the other one is a health and wellness company. The mining company is Legend Mining. And even though this company doesn't have any operations, they still provided an operational cash flow positive quarter. So you might be asking, how did they do that without any operations? And I'm going to discuss that because it's a very important thing we have to understand, that even though a company may not be operational cash flow positive, they can still derive cash through other means. Bioxyne is a little bit different. This company does have operations. They do sell products. Now, I've been selling products for well over 8 years. In fact, I became interested or started following this company in 2013 when they had an operational cash flow quarter back then. The market got a little bit excited around that time as well. I've been waiting for this company to reach a fairly important inflection point. And that inflection point for me in regards to this company is increasing revenue or cash receipts over at least a 3 or 4 quarter period and maintaining operational cash flow positiveness during that period as well. Bioxyne quite haven't got to that point yet. So we'll look at this company and look at why, even though they're on my watch list, I haven't quite taken a position in this company quite yet. First company we'll be looking at is Legend Mining. Ticker code is LEG. This is a mining exploring company. I think they're into nickel and copper. Market cap $250 million. So even though they're not producing, they still have a fairly good market cap. So the market is excited about their projects. No revenue over the trailing 12 months. So this company is not producing any money in operations. And even though they're not producing any money in operations, they're still operational cash flow positive. For the trailing 12 months, that was $100,000. So the question has to be asked, how are they operational cash flow positive if they have no revenue or cash flow coming through their actual operations? Let's talk about that in the next slide, which we look at their Appendix 5B. If you're not too familiar with Appendix 5Bs or Appendix 4Cs, it's just a statement of cash flows. And in the statement of cash flows, there's 3 important sections where companies derive cash flows from. Operating activities, which is section 1, investing activities, which is section 2, and then financing activities, which is section 3. I tend to focus on cash flows from operating activities because, in my opinion, that's the most important section, because operations is the business of the company. That's how a company makes their money, by selling products or selling services. Legend Mining has no operations, and we can see that just by looking at the first line, which is receipts from customers. Only $5,000 for the quarter. So this company is not producing. They're an explorer. However, they were operational cash flow positive for the June quarter by $288,000. So how did they get there? And it all comes back to a loan Legend Mining paid to another company quite a few years ago called Jindal. And that company, Jindal, has been paying back that loan. And for the June quarter, they received $500,000, or Legend Mining received $500,000 for the quarter. And the accountants for Legend Mining decided to put that loan repayment into the cash flows from operating activities section to make it seem like the company is operational cash flow positive. I'm not quite sure I agree with that. I believe any sort of loan repayments probably should go into the financing section of the cash flow statement. So that is the reason why they are operating cash flow positive. And if we look at the beginning cash of the quarter, 29.1 million, and the end cash, 24.8 million, we can find why the cash in this business went down by looking at the cash flows from investing activities. So let's have a look at that right now. In many of the videos I do, Appendix 4C videos I do, I really skip over the cash flows from investing and financing activities because most companies, we don't see much happening in those sections unless they do capital raisings, that sort of thing. When it comes to mining companies, it's a little bit different because particularly those exploring companies will spend a lot of money on exploration and evaluation. It's definitely true for Legend Mining. So if we go to section 2, that's where we see the amount of money they spent on exploring. And for the quarter, Legend Mining spent $4.4 million on exploration and evaluation and $192,000 on property, plant and equipment, which is capital expenditure. And this is the reason why the cash on hand in the business went down to $24.8 million. So it's very important to go through all 3 sections of the cash flow statement to see where cash is coming into the business and leaving the business. Just going to go back to section 1 when they talk about in that $500,000 they received from Jindal. It just mentions there, as per ASX announcement, 8th of May 2019. So I went back to that announcement to see what this loan repayment details are all about. And I did find something a little bit surprising in that announcement. I went back to 8th of May 2019 to just have a bit of a read in regards to this announcement they referred to in that cash flow statement. It's quite interesting reading because it actually mentions that Jindal were going to be paying about $250,000 per month between the 31st of October 2019 and the 31st of August 2020, with the final payment of $250,000 on the 15th of October 2020. And that final payment was about 9 months ago. So I'm not sure how Legend Mining received $500,000 from Jindal based off this announcement, unless it had changed or the agreement had changed. And if the agreement had changed, they should have mentioned that in the cash flow statement, but it hadn't. So I'm not going to go to looking for any sort of clarification around this agreement because, in my opinion, it's not that valid because this is just a loan repayment, has nothing to do with Legend Mining operations. And the whole point of the cash flow statement and to see if a company is operational cash flow positive is around the operations of a company, and Legend Mining right now has no operations. And last thing, I just want to touch upon the weekly chart for Legend Mining fairly quickly. This goes back to 2015. The market became excited in this company towards the end of 2017 when the share price was around 1 cent. The share price rose fairly quickly to 6 cents and then fell back towards 2.5 cents before the real significant increase in share price occurred with this company towards the end of 2019 and the start of 2020. Around the COVID-19 financial panic, this company wasn't that affected. In fact, the share price rose from about 2 to 3 cents to a high of 21 cents in about May of 2020. And ever since that high of 21 cents, the share price has been trickling down on lowering volume. Well, share price right now is about 9 cents, which seems to me, with the market cap of 250 million, there's quite a few shares on issue, so over 3 billion shares on issue. And for the fact that this company is not in operations, they still have $20 million in cash, but they do spend quite a bit of money on exploring, about $4 to $5 million per quarter, which will mean, unless they go into operations soon, eventually they will have to raise more capital and dilute shareholders even more. And that's one of the reasons why I prefer not to invest in these sort of companies, because you don't know how diluted your holding is going to be, because the companies need to continually raise capital to get into production. Onto Bioxyne is, well, they call themselves a health and wellness company, ticker code BXN. I've just included some of their products on the right there. I've never heard or have not heard of any of these products. Progastrum, clinically tested priority owned probiotic for general health and immune support. They even have weight management and beauty drinks for women called Allura. Mustang, which is a weight management and vitality shake for men. Be Essence beauty range. BK18, which is New Zealand dairy-based formula with probiotics and vitamins for general health and immune support. So maybe you've heard some of these products. I have not. Market cap of Bioxyne is 18 million. Revenue, so even though they're selling quite a few products, only $2 million of revenue in the trailing 12 months. And they are barely operational cash flow positive, only $100,000 of cash in operations during the last 12 months. When we look at the June quarter for Bioxyne, it's a very standard quarterly report from this company. Receipts from customers, $549,000, and barely operational cash flow positive, only $24,000 coming into the company through their operations. And because they don't really spend any money in financing or investing activities, the cash in the business was about the same through the quarter at $1.6 million. The question is, even though I've been following this company for 8 years, has the cash receipts been going up or down during that time period? So let's have a look at the cash receipts history for this company. When we look at the cash receipts history for Bioxyne, going back to the March quarter 2013, so 8 years of data here, nothing to get too excited with this company. In fact, there's no discernible trend at all here. So I do prefer an upwards trend in receipts. That's a good sign that the company is growing. So there's no sign here that Bioxyne is doing anything with their products. None of their products are becoming more well-known, are selling more. And in fact, you can see a fairly large amount of lumpiness when it comes to the receipts. Going back to September quarter 2019, we saw $1.3 million of receipts. And then two quarters later, only $111,000. Although that could have been COVID-19 affected because that was a March quarter in 2020. So what I would like to see with Bioxyne moving forward is some sort of inflection point, and that inflection point is a consistent growing in their receipts, and that would show me that their products are becoming more well known and they're marketing their products a little bit better. Maybe they have better salespeople out there selling their products, that sort of thing. Anything to show me that this company is growing their cash receipts, because that's one of the most important things a company has to do, is to grow their revenue, grow their cash receipts. And if they can do that, everything else should fall in line eventually, including the operational cash flow of the company. Onto the weekly chart for Bioxyne. This weekly chart goes all the way back to the start of 2014 when I started following this company. And the main reason I started following this company was because of the March quarter in 2014, when the company had or received $933,000 in receipts. The market became excited. We saw a considerable increase in the share price from around 0.5 cents to 3 cents. So that was a six-bagger in a few weeks. Unfortunately for the company, that $933,000 in cash receipts was not topped, or it has only been topped once a few years ago with one quarter where they received $1.3 million. So it seemed like that quarter was the height in this company's financial performance. And we just can see the share price really has done nothing since then, apart from late 2017, when the company announced the launch of a New Zealand dairy formula into Asia markets. The market loved that, which is not surprising because at that point in time, dairy formula was the hot sector to be in. If you just put out an announcement at that point in time, just saying anything about dairy formula, your share price would have increased substantially. And that's exactly what happened with Bioxyne. Share price rose 82% on the day and 287% for the week. I'm not a very big fan of these sort of announcements because they're not financially driven. I would much prefer that the company's share price increase on a positive financial announcement. And we can see what happened subsequent to this announcement. Share price rose to a high of 14 cents during this week and then fell over the next few months back to 2 to 3 cents and then kept on dropping to a low of about 1 cent. And then we saw during 2020 and the start of 2021, share price just goes sideways for about a year until recently, the last few months, we've seen a bit of an uptrend develop in the Bioxyne share price. But at this point in time, I haven't seen any reason why the share price is starting to increase. There's no good financial news, no increase in cash receipts. The company is still hovering around being cash flow neutral, not really positive all that much. Some quarters it's negative by a small amount. So really nothing to get excited about Bioxyne just yet. But I will still keep an eye on this company's performance. And if I do see the company reach a bit of an inflection point, that could be the time to take a position in this company. Plenty of companies onto my to-do lists, including Pure Profile, Pantoro, RuLife, and Cogstate. And over the past 2 days, July 22nd and 23rd, we've seen a multitude of companies placed on my to-do list, including Damstra, Emerge Gaming, Big Tin Can, Gascoigne, and Optics, which is one of my favorite companies on the ASX. So keep an eye out on videos on all those companies moving forward. Thank you for watching this video on Legend Mining and Bioxyne, looking at their June quarter financial reports. If you have any questions on either of these two companies or any other company on the ASX or even internationally, make sure you leave a comment or question in the comment section of this video. I am on leave for 6 weeks now, so I have plenty of time to answer all your questions or comments. I was going to be traveling, but unfortunately, because of the pathetic vaccination rollout by the federal government, we are now shutting down and our borders are all closing. Thank you very much. As the rest of the world opens up, we are now shutting down. Awesome job, federal government. That's all for this video. Last thing I should say is I'm not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's all. Have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye.